The ScanNCut is a sleek, compact, standalone cutting machine with an adjustable LCD screen that can be raised or lowered for your comfort. The front cover opens to create a flat work surface with two storage compartments for tools and accessories. There is also a storage compartment for your stylus, and the top tray provides a flat surface to store tools while you are working with the machine. There are magnetic clips that will keep the lids of the storage tray securely closed. There are two cutting mats that are supplied with the machine, a standard tack adhesive mat and then the low tack adhesive mat. Now where you would use each of these is discussed in the training videos. The mats that are supplied with the machine are 305 millimeters wide by 305 millimeters long. However, if you would like to do larger or longer projects, there are optional extra mats available that are 305 millimeters wide but 610 millimeters long. So they are twice the length of the mats that are supplied with the machine, which would be ideal for those longer or larger projects. There is an optional roll feeder available too that is ideal for creating extra long designs for wall art and more. The auto blade holder with a blade in it cuts a wide variety of materials from 0.1 to 3 millimeters thick and has a black cap. Then there is a thin fabric auto blade holder with a blade with a gold cap. Then we have a mini pen holder for drawing and writing, plus a set of mini pens for writing on card and paper, and a set for marking seam allowances onto fabric for patchwork and quilting. There is a stylus or a touch pen that you use on the LCD screen, as well as a spatula for lifting your cut projects from the cutting mats. You turn the power on simply by touching the power on or off button. Once you've done that, you touch your LCD screen with your stylus and the machine will tell you that the carriage is going to move into the initial position. So we click OK. Now what we'd like to do is we would like to cut a design or a pattern. So what I'm going to do is I can either choose one of the 1303 built-in patterns. However, if I would like to bring in my own custom pattern, I can do that simply by going to retrieve data. Now there are various ways of bringing custom designs in. You can either retrieve them wirelessly from your computer. You could also retrieve them by putting them onto a USB stick and then transferring the USB stick from your computer into the right hand side of the machine, and then the machine would retrieve the data from the stick. You could also use a USB cable connected between your machine and your computer. So there are various ways of bringing in your own custom designs. However, as I mentioned, there are 1303 designs or patterns that are built in on the machine, and there are also 17 fonts. Now with the fonts, you could also bring in any true type font simply by going to retrieve data and bringing that in. All of this is discussed in detail in the lessons. Now I'm going to choose a pattern from one of the 1303 built-in patterns. So I simply click on the pattern icon and that will open up a whole lot of different categories. Now you can scroll down and you can scroll up simply by using your stylus, or you could use the arrow keys to go up and down. Now the first category, you're going to find all of your basic shapes. So any shape that you need is included in that category. Let's go back and go to the next category. This has got all of your pretty designs or patterns. Now each one of these subcategories has a selection of patterns in it as well. So if I click on that category, for example, I can see that there are a whole lot of different designs within that subcategory. So if I go back, I can go to the next selection or the next category, which has all of our little sayings in it, which are arranged in alphabetical order. And then this one has all of the days as well as the months in it. Then if I go back, I can get to my border category. Now you'll see that there are lots of different borders inside there, and they are very useful for lots of specific projects. And over here we have our 17 built-in fonts. So once again, you can go through and choose any one of those fonts. And remember, you can also import fonts, and that is described in detail in the lessons. So you're not limited only to these 17. So if I go back, you'll see that the next category is dedicated specifically to drawing. So in other words, you can write letters or you can draw them, and these are some fancy ones. You can also do all of the others of these categories. You can write and draw, but this is specifically for drawing. Now if I go down a little bit more, you'll see that there we have some more fonts, and then this is for people who like to do patchwork. Each one of these is a subcategory, so if I click on a subcategory, it's going to open up a whole variety of different traditional designs as well. Then if I go back, this category has all of the applique designs. So if I would like to applique any of those, I could choose those. Now because this Brother machine is compatible with the Brother embroidery machines, you can also transfer designs to your embroidery machine. Now that is also discussed in a separate lesson. If I go on a little bit further, you'll see that there we have some other categories also with some fancy fonts and some fancy designs as well. So you can scroll through and choose whichever one you wanted to use for your project. Now I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm going to choose a pattern from one of the 1303 designs that are built in on the machine. So I click on pattern. I know that the design that I want is in that category. It's in that subcategory. So I'm going to just scroll through until I get to the one I want, which happens to be that one there. So I need to just set that, but before I do that, I would like to change the size. I say OK, and now I could choose more than one if I wanted to, but I only want the one, so I'm going to say set. However, what I do want to do is I want to add another pattern as well, so I go back to my pattern list, and this time I want one of the little sayings. Now they are arranged in alphabetical order, so I scroll down till I find the one that I want. Once again, I'm just going to adjust the size slightly, and then when I'm happy with that, I say set. Now the next thing that I need to do is I need to place my card that I'm going to cut onto my cutting mat, and then I'm going to be able to drag and drop these designs onto those pieces of card. So let me show you how we load that mat. For this demonstration, I have attach some card to my cutting mat, so I'm going to cut the designs that I've chosen out on this card. However, bear in mind that you could have chosen any other cutting material and placed it on this mat. So if you look back at the previous examples, you could have put a piece of fabric, felt, craft foam, magnetic strips, cake icing fondant, all those types of materials could have been mounted in place of the card, but as I mentioned, for this demonstration I'm going to cut on the card. So now what I need to do is I need to load the mat into my machine. So I'm going to just open that front cover, and then I'm going to place the mat in between the little guides on the machine, and then I'm going to press the load the mat button. So there the mat is now loading into the machine. Now once it's loaded, I'm going to scan the mat. Now that the mat is loaded, I'm just going to go and touch the scan the mat icon and press start. And now the machine is going to scan this mat, and it's going to show me on my actual screen exactly where the card is so that I can drag and drop my designs before I cut them. Now that the machine has scanned the mat and it showed me where my pieces of card are mounted on the actual mat, I can just go ahead and drag and drop these designs that I've chosen onto whichever piece of card I like. Now I have specifically chosen this funny shaped piece of card here just to show you that you can use all of your scraps, all of your offcuts, because it doesn't matter how big or how small that offcut is, you can always use it for something, because the machine will show you exactly where that piece of card or whatever cutting material it is on your mat. Now I would like to cut that word believe out of the purple card, so all I do is I drag and drop it, and then I can place it wherever I like to keep it as economical as possible. The little heart is almost perfect, however I want to move it in a little bit from the edges of that card. So now that I've moved them into position, I'm ready to move on to the next step, which is just to say OK, and then I need to select what I want the machine to do, and I would like it to cut. I don't want it to draw or do any of the other functions. I simply want it to cut. So off I go and I press start, and now the machine tells me it's going to take about 2 minutes to cut this design. So now I've just zoomed out a little bit so that you can see what the machine's doing. So it's measured the thickness of the card and it's calibrated itself, and now it's ready to start cutting. So that auto blade adjusts the depth of the cutting blade to suit the material that it's cutting. And now that it's finished cutting, it tells me that it's done, so I just press OK, and then I'm going to unload the mat and show you the finished result. So now I've unloaded the mat, and all that's left for me to do is just to lift the excess card off of the cutting mat, and I just like to use my spatula to do that for the smaller pieces. So there I have my word believe, so I'm just going to gently lift that off of the mat. So we just pull that off, and there I have the word all beautifully cut out. Then I'm going to just lift my little heart off the mat as well, so we just gently lift that off, and there it is, all ready to be used in whichever project I want to use it in. Now that I've finished cutting my little word believe and my heart out, we'll do another quick fun project from the built-in patterns, and this time I'm going to make a little envelope, and I know that it is in the category with the envelopes, so I just scroll down. That's the one that I want. I also know that I'd like to make this only about 130 millimeters wide, because I'm going to make a little gift pouch or a gift card pouch. So I say set, and then I'm going to scan in my mat, and once that is scanned in, I can just drag my little gift card pouch onto the card, and then I'm going to say OK. I'm going to select the cut option, and then I'm going to just let the machine start. So it's going to take approximately 3 minutes. So now the machine is just busy cutting the little score lines that I can fold my gift pouch along. So it's down to 1 minute now. And now that it's done, I'm going to remove it from the machine and show you what it looks like. Now that I've unloaded my mat, I'm just going to simply lift off the excess card from around my cut out gift envelope, lift the gift envelope, and then if you take a close look, you'll be able to see that the machine has put little score lines all along the edges that need to be folded. So now all that's left for me to do is to actually fold that card along those little score lines. So it just folds up all beautifully like that, and then I'll just flap the top down and fold that as well. And then to keep this flap in place, all I'm going to do is just attach a little bit of glue to the sides. So I'll just take my glue stick, and then I'm just going to fold that up, press that down firmly, and that is my gift card pouch all ready to be used. So I take my little gift card and then I just slip that inside, and then what I like to do is I put a tiny little dab of glue just on the inside just to hold the flap down, and that's ready to be given away as a gift. So I've always have a little stash of these ready, so I've got them in various different colors. For example, the brown one is very nice as a gift for a male, and then obviously the pretty colors for ladies or girls. Now you can also make them in different sizes, but the whole point of this exercise was just to show you that there are some beautiful ready-made designs on the actual machine itself, including this little box that I made, and this is one of the very first projects that you will make when you get your machine, because when you open the machine they tell you exactly how to go and choose this design, and they even provide you with a piece of card to cut this box. Now, because this is a little gift pouch that I cut on a regular basis, I like to save it onto the machine's memory so that I know that each time I call it up, it's going to be the perfect size for my gift pouches. So in order to do that, all I'm going to do is click on the Save button. Now, I could save it either back to my computer, onto the machine, or onto a USB stick. But in this case, I'm going to save it onto the machine, so it's busy saving it into the machine's memory. So that's a very handy feature, because whenever you want to recall your design, you can either recall it from the machine itself, from your computer, or from a USB stick. So if I want to recall it from my computer, there are all of my saved designs, and there is my little card which I can then just recall and cut. Now let's take a quick look at some of the important editing functions. So if I chose one of the built-in patterns and I chose one of the basic shapes, and for example a square, I could adjust the size of the square, and I could make it smaller by touching the minus key. Now this will happen in proportion, so the height will stay in proportion to the width and keep it a square. So I could then If I wanted to make it larger, I could just touch the plus button. However, if I wanted to just adjust the width, then I could unlock the dimensions by clicking on that key there. So now just the width is going to be made narrower, and if I wanted to adjust the height and I wanted to make that higher, then I could do that. So simply by unlocking proportions, we can adjust the size, either just the height or just the width. Then if I wanted more than one of those, I could type in as many as I wanted, and once you reach the maximum number that will fit on the mat, the machine will warn you. So if I go and I set that, you'll see it has set them out side by side so that once it's cut, there is no waste at all. So now we're going to go and add some more patterns. And this time I'm going to add some triangles. Now with the triangle, I could make that smaller in proportion, or I could unlock my dimensions. So you just adjust it to what suits your needs. If I wanted to cut, for example, 5 of those, I would just simply set it to 5 and say set. So now it has arranged those triangles also so there is not a lot of waste in between. However, we can ask the machine to fine-tune that. Now we can choose to ask the machine to arrange all of these patterns either in a random fashion or to dovetail them. So for example, if I chose dovetail, it would invert some of these triangles so that they would slot in. So let's try that one first. So there you'll see it's now changed the triangles and it's slotted them in between each other so that there is no waste. However, if this was, for example, a piece of card that had a one-way design on it, this wouldn't work because it would mean that these triangles would be being cut upside down. In other words, so the pattern on there would be upside down. So then it would be better to choose the option of all of the pieces facing in the same direction. So now it's put it back to how it was originally. But I could also ask it to adjust them randomly. So if I ask it to adjust them randomly, you'll see it slots them in all over, and it's even moved those rectangles so that they are lying in a more economical way to fit in with the triangles. So this is how you can choose your designs and arrange them so that you have no waste when you are cutting. Let's take a quick look at some more basic editing. So if I choose a design and I choose one of the pre-made gift cards, I can adjust the size. And then what I'm going to do is I want to add a word onto the card. So go to add, my patterns, and the built-in fonts. Now I can use any one of the 17 built-in fonts, or I can use any one of the fonts that are on my computer to create words with. But I'm going to just use the built-in fonts for now. So now I can choose either uppercase or lowercase. I can choose just the letters as they are, or letters with special characters, or numbers. So we'll go back to the normal letters, uppercase or lowercase. So I'm going to make them all uppercase. And we're going to spell a word, and if I make a mistake I can just delete. And now I can adjust the height, I can adjust the spacing, but I'm leaving that as it is. So there's my word. Now what I want to do is I need to edit that word. So what I need to do now is go to Object Edit, because what I want to do is swing it around so that I can put it onto the card. So I go to the Rotate key, and I can rotate either to the right or to the left by 90 degrees, 10 degrees, or 1 degree at a time. So I'm going to say make it a full 90 degrees. Now I can see that it's not going to fit onto that card, so I can just go back and I can resize it. So I can get it to the size that I like, drag and drop it in place, and that's it. Now there are lots of other functions that are described in the lessons, like for example I can group these together, I can weld them, so there are all sorts of things, and then there are a whole lot of other editing functions that I describe in detail in the lessons. Canvas Workspace is a cloud-based program that is provided for the ScanNCut user to be able to create custom designs for their ScanNCut machines. It's completely free to use. There is a comprehensive video lesson provided on it, and there is an offline and an online version available. As well as providing us with a platform to create our own designs, there is a wide variety of pre-made projects that are available too. Now we've seen how we can open any one of the patterns that are built in on the machine or retrieve patterns and cut them. But the ScanNCut can also scan. So there are various options. You could scan an image in, for example, a stamped image, and then you could cut that directly. You could also scan an image and save it, either onto the machine for cutting later, or onto a USB stick, or onto Canvas Workspace. So the machine is capable not only of cutting but also of scanning. Using the direct cut option under the scanning function, a piece of gift wrap was scanned into the ScanNCut, and it then cut out the separate images. A different piece of gift wrap was used to scan in, and then the ScanNCut cut the separate images. Use the ScanNCut to draw outlines, lines, text, and even color in with fill using the universal pen holder and regular store-bought pens, so no expensive cartridges would be required. This beautiful invitation was cut out on the ScanNCut, and then the ScanNCut even did the writing using a regular store-bought rollerball pen. So you can use your ScanNCut to cut or draw from very large to very tiny, but perfectly every time.